Hi, Internet. I already recorded this once, only to look at my camera lens afterward and go, oh, the lens was set at f/16. Yeah, I'm a little bit out of it, a little bit upset, a little bit devastated. We are now less than a week after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And though I have been offline for most of the last 6 weeks because long COVID, illness, blah, 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 I wanted to at least record a little bit about what this means to me, where I am. Why? Because I think absolutely everyone should be weighing in. Why? Because the Supreme Court just made a decision that is not endorsed by the great majority of the rest of the country. Go look up statistics for yourself. It's a lot. It's a lot of people who do not agree. How have I felt? Somewhere between absolutely horrified, intense rage, and literally feeling like I'm suffocating. Like actual suffocation feelings. I can't describe to you what that feels like if it's not a panic you're going through or can imagine. I've had 2 children. They're both in their early 20s. They were both very much wanted babies. I actually thought I was infertile for the better part of a decade. And then babies. I really wanted both kids. My pregnancies were, for the most part, uncomplicated. My deliveries were both at home, which you can't do if they're that complicated. And the pregnancies weren't necessarily easy. Deliveries, home birth, hey man, not easy. But I wanted the children and I wanted the pregnancies. And, no one necessarily wants labor while it's happening, but it's not the labor that you want, it's the delivery that you want to have. And because I didn't have drastic complications, I got to have that. I got to have the kinds of labor and delivery I wanted to have, which was both kids born at home, everything very calm and quiet, born into an environment of love where we could just go right to sleep in our own beds. I wanted those, and I knew what I was in for, at least the second time, but the first time too. In fact, you hear way more horror stories about pregnancy than you do glowing, happy, mom-to-be stories. And having gone through that process twice, I can tell you I cannot imagine a more horrific torture that, includes most tortures than being forced to carry and then deliver a child that you don't want. When I was in my 20s, dating myself a bit here, but some of you probably remember, we were all tuned into public radio every day, listening to what was going on with the war in Bosnia. And when reports of rape camps started getting publicized in the news, all of the young women I knew, it was just the most horrible thing we could imagine. And I think that's true. Rape is a crime of war. It's completely glossed over. And the only thing worse than being forced to carry a child and then deliver a child that you didn't want would be being raped and forced to carry a child and deliver a child that you didn't want. And there's a whole lot of people who are happy to point out that one little thing. Oh, well, if it's rape or incest, or even, fetal or maternal extreme risk, then of course abortion should be allowed. No, fuck that. Abortion should be allowed because nobody gets to decide what a person does with their body. I can't walk up to somebody on the street and demand they donate blood, let alone think that it's, sane to ask them to carry a baby. And yet that's what people are being asked to do. And we know that it's going to affect hundreds of thousands of women a year. That's a whole lot more poverty. That's a whole lot more terrible medical outcomes. And even for the women who are lucky and come sailing through a healthy pregnancy and delivery, it is completely life-changing, body-changing, psyche-changing. And that's if you want the baby. If you never wanted to be pregnant to begin with, the damage has to be just 100 times worse. So I'm not going to go into all the statistics about how many more people are going to die, because you can look that up in any newspaper right now. And I'm not going to go into people's stories about being forced to stay pregnant or being forced to give up children, any of that. Again, you can go read it in any newspaper right now, and so many people are putting up amazing personal stories and personal videos about those events of their particular lives. All I can say is, even as a woman in her 50s who is past childbearing, and I mean like surgically completely past childbearing, I have been panicking and hyperventilating and have had to actually literally increase my medication and no longer look at the news. That's how upsetting it's been. That's how horrifically stressful it is. And I'm not even able to get pregnant. Most of my younger women friends are actually queer, so at least they have that. They're not going to have a completely unplanned pregnancy unless they were to be assaulted. Fingers crossed, right? Everyone, fingers crossed on that always. But now, it could be just many orders of magnitude worse. But they are more in the thick of it than I, because it's actually something that they could conceive of happening to them. Whereas I can only understand in retrospect, having had wanted pregnancies, how horrible it would be to be forced to go through that. So here I am, weighing in, heavily medicated, not allowed to go out and do anything fun. So it would actually make my brain worse. I hope everybody is being very, very safe. And I don't just mean with your masks, although you absolutely should keep them on, or with the heat wave, which is really bad, but also being safe with your mental health. Be good to yourselves. Support each other. It may take 2 decades. In fact, I would be surprised if it didn't, to get the federal protection for abortion back.